Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and what have you. And welcome to this extendo video compilation of stories written by Blair Daniels. If I may digress slightly before the video begins, do you feel my opener is too aggressive? Let me know in the comments. That being said, and with no objections being raised at the present, sit down, shut up, and listen. Whenever I see a bright light, I see a man in the afterimage. Written by... oh, you guessed it, buddy. Blair Daniels. It first happened at Zoe's birthday party. The three of us posed for a picture. The phone flashed brightly in our eyes, lighting up the dark bar. And when I looked away briefly, there was something wrong with the afterimage. There was the usual sort of shimmery brightness floating in front of my vision. But in the center, there was a hole, or a darkened blob, or something. With a flash from a photo, it should have just been a uniform, shimmery circle, but it wasn't. It only lasted for a second, then faded away. I was back to staring at my friends' smiling faces, the two men leering at us at the end of the bar, and the bright pink drink in front of me. So I forgot about it. Until I was on my phone the next night, as usual. I was staying up way later than I should, doom scrolling through social media updates that made everyone else's lives look perfect. When I finally turned my phone off, a little before 1 a.m., and closed my eyes, I saw the perfect imprint of the screen against the back of my eyelids, shimmering and glittering like stars. Except there was a blob in the middle. Since my eyes were closed this time, I could see it a little more clearly. The edges were blurry, as all afterimages are, but it almost looked like a man. Like a little man standing there on the backs of my eyelids. I frowned. Had I been looking at a photo of a man? I tried to think about what I'd looked at before I turned off the phone. I had been looking at photos of Jesse's baby shower, of Josh's hike in the Appalachians. I shrugged. The last photo must have been a man in dark clothing, standing in the middle of a bright background, or something like that. The after image faded, and I drifted off to sleep. Weeks went by, and I never even thought about the after images. But then, one night, I was scrolling through Reddit posts, wasting time, and on one of those subreddits, like, damn, that's interesting, or black magic fuckery, or something like that, they had an optical illusion. There was a black and white drawing of a woman's face, with a red dot on her nose. Supposedly, if you stared at the red dot for 30 seconds, and then looked at the blank wall, you'd see her image on the wall. I'd done optical illusions like this as a kid. Still, I had nothing better to do, so I went ahead and stared at the red dot for 30 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Damn, this was harder than I remembered. 11, 12, 13. My eyes were tearing up a little. I blinked. 28, 29, 30. I looked at the wall. Froze. I saw the woman's face, but there, slightly off-center, under her left eye, was the clear silhouette of a man. I just stared until the shimmering lines of the afterimage faded away, until the wall was blank white, like it was supposed to be. I took a deep breath, walked over to the kitchen, splashed water on my face. What the fuck was that? No. That must have been part of the illusion. I scanned the comments, looking for mention of a man, but there were only 3. It was a new post, and they were perfectly ambiguous, just saying things like, wow, so cool. I turned off the phone, slid it away from me, and hid my head in my hands. I really needed to cut down on my screen time. I used to play a game when I was little. When I couldn't see, I'd rub my eyes for a long time. It would create this strange pattern of colors and shapes blooming over the insides of my eyelids, and my brain would turn into a story, a movie playing before my eyes. Pareidolia, our brain's ability to see faces in knots of wood, or see sheep and birds in fluffy white clouds, is a powerful thing. I'd see strange patterns of colors that looked like weird landscapes from a Dr. Seuss book. I'd see blobby shapes that looked like little fantastical critters scampering around. But weirdly, They'd all end the same way. And around 10 minutes in or so, I'd see an annulus of shimmering color surrounding a big circle of nothingness, almost like a ginormous eye staring back at me. I hadn't done it in years, but here I was now, ready to start lying in bed, eyes closed, hands raised. I was having trouble sleeping, and it occurred to me, if there really was this man I kept seeing, shouldn't I see him when I closed my eyes? I began to rub my eyes. The colors bloomed before me, inside my eyelids. Vivid red spiraled around each other. Sparkling darkness chased them back, ate them away. A psychedelic vortex replaced them, made of bubbling circles that reminded me of a drilly or fractal. The pattern looked like something out of an LSD trip, a vortex pulsing with my own heartbeat. And then, a dot of darkness at the center of my vision. I continued rubbing my eyes, and the darkness grew, but it wasn't the shimmery, sparkling darkness that appeared in the patterns. It was just the absence of everything. As it grew, it looked more and more out of place, an empty void next to shimmering, dancing colors. And then I saw it clearly. It was the shape of a man, a tall, thin man with arms that hung limply at his sides. A neck slightly too long, a gaunt, stretched face, a complete absence of color. The silhouette grew in my vision, slowly cutting through the shimmering colors. He's getting closer, and then he moved. A long, spindly arm slowly lifted up, stretching towards me, reaching out for me. My eyes snapped open. I stared up at the white ceiling. For a second, just the briefest, most fleeting moment, I saw his afterimage projected onto the blank ceiling, and then nothing. I don't know how long I lay there, panting, my entire body seized up like I couldn't move. Then finally, I turned on the lights and called a friend, who I told the entire story to, start to finish. And now I'm here, on Reddit, posting about it to strangers, because I don't know what to do. I've gone down every rabbit hole on Google. I've even seen an ophthalmologist. I've never been a superstitious person, but it's hard for me to believe what I saw was just something wrong with my eyes. I think it's something far, far worse. You know, I really don't have a moral for the story. If you're seeing dudes in your eyes, I mean, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I found a body in the woods, but there's something wrong with it. Written by, big surprise, it's Blair Daniels. I've never been that active, but recently, after a health scare, I decided to get into shape. The gym is boring, so I've started running down trails in the woods. Narrow paths, winding next to a babbling brook. Birds chirping in the trees. The smell of dirt and fresh air. It's exhilarating. But today, that all came to an end. I was taking a jog down a new path I hadn't been down before. As I came around the bend, my toe caught on something. I flew through the air and fell into the dirt, my hands flying out in front of me a second before I hit the ground. Pain shot up my elbows and knees. Wincing, I slowly pulled myself up. And there it was, the thing that I'd tripped on. A piece of clothing. I stepped forward, my heart pounding in my chest. It was a denim jacket, twisted and rolled on itself. The indigo blue, now a muddy brown, as it was slowly reclaimed by nature. It wasn't the weirdest thing I'd found in the woods, by far. I'd seen beer bottles, crumpled paper, even an old baseball cap. I straightened, glancing around the forest. My breath caught in my throat. Slowly, I stepped off the trail. Ferns brushed my calves as I made my way through the underbrush. I winced at the thought of how many ticks were probably latching onto my legs, but I continued. As I got closer, my brain still couldn't parse what the white shape was. I just knew by the color, by the shape, it didn't belong in the woods. I took another step and froze. Next to the shape was a mess of tangled, dark hair. It's a body. I began to scream. No one could hear me. I was a few miles from the road, from any houses, but I couldn't help it. I screamed and screamed and screamed until I was out of breath. The woman was lying face down in the underbrush. The ferns and long grasses had grown up around her, nearly engulfing her entire body. There was no smell, and the white I'd seen, it was the white of her t-shirt, poking up through the foliage. Oh my god. What do I do? My hyperventilating breath echoed in the empty clearing. Call the police. Right. Pulled up my phone. I stopped. A few feet away from the body, laying in the tall grass, was a shoe. I took a step in its direction, and my entire body seized up as it came into full view. It's my shoe. It was identical. A pink Nike sneaker with white laces and silver Swoop logo. I swallowed when my throat was dry. It's a popular sneaker, so this woman wore them. So what? Doesn't mean anything. Except, I turned back to the body. The woman had long, dark, wavy hair. She was wearing black leggings and white t-shirt, like I often wore. Like I was wearing right now. The ground spun underneath me. Just a coincidence. But I had to know. Slowly, I crouched down. I grabbed a stick near my foot and raised it to the woman's neck. Nearly gagging, I carefully lifted a lock of hair to expose the gray, desiccated skin of the woman's neck. No. The faded tattoo of a cross stared back at me. She has my tattoo. She has my fucking tattoo. I leapt back. My heel hit uneven ground and I lost my balance. I fell, rear first, onto the damp dirt, staring at the corpse, at the tangled mess of hair. It can't. I forced myself up, tore my eyes away, and sprinted back through the ferns, back to the trail. I ran as fast as I could, my entire body burning. My lungs ached with each breath, but all I could think about was running, getting away from the body. When I turned around the bend, I saw a man walking down the trail, earbuds in, getting exercise. Thought about telling him what I'd seen, but I couldn't stop the panic. Couldn't stop running. Putting as much distance between me and that thing as possible. But then, the strangest thing happened. In that last split second, before I passed the man, I saw him smile. I glanced back. He had stopped in the middle of the trail and was looking over his shoulder at me, smiling. What the? I pumped my legs harder, glanced back again. No. He had turned around and was starting after me. Panic flooded me. I forced myself to run harder, but I could hear his steps behind me, pounding on the dirt trail, getting louder by the second. The body in the woods flashed through my head, face down, overgrown with foliage, sunken and gray, forgotten. I glanced behind me. He was running at me, but not gaining on me as fast as I thought. I forced myself to push forward, around another bend, and then the opening in the trees. I saw it, the parking lot, and it wasn't empty. A family was getting ready to take a walk on the trail, and they could see us. Help, I screamed. Help me. A flurry of movement as the father pulled out his phone and called the police, while the mother ushered the kids back inside the car. I glanced back to see the man scurrying off into the underbrush, trying to hide. But it was too late for him. The police identified the man as a local who had been accused of stalking women before. They were able to find him in the woods and bring him into custody. But they didn't find the body. I revisited the spot several weeks later, and while I was certain that that was the exact same spot, there was no body. Just the ferns, swaying in the breeze, dappled by early summer sunlight. You heard it here first, kids. Never go outside. Never touch grass. You have been warned. This next story is called Someone Keeps Depositing Money into My Account. It was fun until they started asking me to do things. Who was it written by? Blair Daniels. First deposit came on a Tuesday. I was on my way to lunch when my phone vibrated in my pocket. Woohoo, you just got paid. My budgeting app gleefully told me. That's odd, I thought. Payday wasn't until Friday. I opened the app to find a deposit of $250. It was from a sender I didn't recognize. AWSTGHY2276. I quickly shot off a text to my husband. It was our joint account, but he didn't recognize it either. My next thought was PayPal. I did occasionally get weird payments. I have a crafting side hustle that's more of a side crawl, but those payments usually say PayPal in the transaction. So, who's just giving me money? It must be a scam. But as the hours went by, I didn't get any weird text or phone calls. That fat $250 just sat there in my bank account, taking up space. We should give it back, my husband said when I got home. I don't think we can do that. Sure we can. We call the bank, tell them to reverse the transaction. I shot him a look. Or we could just keep it. Someone did give it to us. That's unethical. What's unethical is forcing the kids to eat rice and beans for lunch every day. I slammed the refrigerator shut and plopped down on the couch. Look, I feel a little weird about it too, okay? But it's not like I picked up a wallet someone dropped and found $250 in it. Someone actually gave this to us. Whether it's accidental or not, we argued about it until we went to sleep. Well, not really argued, more just aggressively talked at each other. With 3 kids and 2 full-time jobs, neither of us had the energy to properly argue anymore. When I woke up the next morning, there was a text from an unknown number waiting for me. At 2:13 p.m. today, go to the corner of 12th Avenue and North Street. Take a photo of the short man in the black coat. What the heck? But Jerry had already left for work. I'd tell him about it later. The weird text from a wrong number. As I got the kids ready for school, I couldn't stop smiling. Tomorrow, you guys are going to get a special lunch. Not rice and beans. Something really good. I told them as we walked down the driveway. After waving to them on the bus, I left for work. But then another text came in. As I was riding the elevator up. If you want to keep the $250, take the photo. My throat went dry. It wasn't free money. Some weirdo wired $250 to me. The elevator door slid open, and I stumbled out. How do they have my number? Is it someone I know? I glanced around at the hall of cubicles, at the people I'd worked side by side with for 5 years. Ed is weird enough to pull some shit like this. But then I frowned. If Ed would wire me $250, he would ask for a photo of something else. I set my phone face down on the desk and got to work. I didn't spend another thought on the text. I pretended it didn't even happen. I just focused on my happy little spreadsheets, on the upcoming presentation, and hoped it would all go away by 5. It didn't. At 2 o'clock sharp, my phone buzzed loudly, and when I pulled up the text, my breath caught in my throat. Why haven't you left yet? I glanced wildly around the office, but nobody was looking at me. I ran over to the window. The sidewalk below was filled with people, but none of them were looking up in my direction. Fear pounded through my veins. Bzzzt. You want to give your kids that special lunch tomorrow, don't you? I froze. No. They'd been in my yard, watching me. And now they were somewhere on the street, or in this very office, watching my every move. I shot up from the desk and ran to the elevator. It took me 8 minutes to get to the corner of 12th and North. Running in heels, panting, I glanced around at my surroundings, but I didn't see anything out of place. A woman jogging by, a mother pushing a stroller, 2 businessmen arguing as they crossed the street, and at 2:13, a short man in a black coat strolled into view. He pressed the button on the crosswalk. Quickly, I whipped out my phone, pretended I was texting, and snapped a photo of him. I rushed back to the office building, tears stinging in my eyes as my fingers slid across the screen. Here's your photo, I texted with the image. Now leave me the fuck alone. After work, I went to the grocery store. I got my kids organic sliced turkey, an aged Gouda, and fucking gourmet Swiss chocolate for lunch tomorrow. I'd played their stupid little sick game, and damn it if I wasn't going to reap the rewards. As the food approached the conveyor belt, my phone vibrated. Woohoo, you just got paid. My heart fell into my stomach, and it fell through the floor when I saw the amount. $1,000. Whatever they were going to ask me to do tomorrow, I had a feeling it was going to be a lot worse than taking a photo of some random guy. I threw my groceries into the trunk of the car, the whole world going blurry with my tears. Just ignore it. Whatever they ask you to do tomorrow, just don't respond. They'll take the money back, and that'll be it. Then you can go to the police and tell them everything. But I was naive to assume they'd wait until tomorrow, because as I started the car, my phone buzzed again. Drive to the pier. I stared at those 4 words, my heart pounding in my chest, and then I leapt into action. I don't want to play your sick fucking game, I texted, my hands shaking. Take your money back. I don't want it. Leave me alone. Bzzz. It's too late for that, I swallowed. What do you mean, it's too late? I wrote back. 3 dots popped up again, showing they were typing. And then the message appeared. Because the cargo is already in your back seat. My heart pounded in my ears. You really shouldn't leave your car unlocked, Lynn. I closed out the texting app, pulled up the phone, began dialing 911. Something thumped against the back of my seat. Every muscle in my body froze. I held my breath. The shadows in the rearview mirror shifted, but I couldn't quite make out. Bzzz. Drive to the pier, and you'll be safe. But if you call the police... They didn't need to finish that sentence. I swung out of the parking lot and drove as fast as I could to the pier. When I got there, I parked in a dark little corner and cut the lights. Now in the darkness, in the silence, I could hear them breathing. A steady rush of air, right behind my ear. Bzzz. Close your eyes. I squeezed them shut tight, rustling moving in the back seat. And then, the open and close of a car door. Faint footsteps on the pavement, receding into the darkness. I let out the breath I'd been holding. I don't know how long I'd been sitting there with my eyes closed, but I finally felt like it was safe to open them when I hadn't heard the footsteps in a long time. I sobbed as I drove home, so thankful I was alive, praying that this whole nightmare was over, that whoever this person was, they'd use me as much as they could and would move on to the next poor soul. But I wasn't so lucky, because this morning, when I woke up, I had a new notification. Woohoo, you just got paid. The amount? $10,000. Remember, kids, money's a scam, and you don't need it to buy anything. Just take what you want. What are they gonna do? Stop you? Someone keeps depositing money into my account. It was fun, until they started asking me to do things. Update. I called in sick to work. All I could do was sit there, staring at my phone, my heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't eat, couldn't focus, couldn't move, because I knew, sooner or later, I'd get the instructions. It was almost noon when my phone pinged. Hands shaking, I picked it up and stared at the message. Deliver the package to 12 Maple Avenue. Package? What Ding. The doorbell rang, followed by a dull thump on the porch. No. 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 The kitchen swam beneath me. Slowly, I forced myself up. Then I walked to the door and swung it open. At my feet, there was a small, brown box. It wasn't that small, about a foot on the side. Heart pounding in my chest, I reached down and picked it up. It was heavier than I expected, but not exceedingly so. Taking deep breaths, I started back inside. I stopped. There was a pool of dark liquid where the box had just been. I lifted the box up and saw, in the center, the cardboard was wet, soggy, stained dark red. I dropped the box and screamed. It made a wet thwack on my front porch. I leapt inside and slammed the door. Bzzz. My phone on the kitchen table. The screen lit up with a message. I slowly walked towards it, the pain building in my chest. Deliver the package, Lynn. I texted back, a fingers flying over the screen. Fuck off. You're sick. I'm calling the police. The reply came back almost instantly. You'll be dead before you get the chance. I whipped around, and then I saw it. On the other side of the street, a black sedan with dark windows idled by the curb. My throat went dry. If they were holding a gun, they'd have a straight shot at my head. I ran into the living room and ducked behind the couch. No one could possibly see me, through any windows. Hands shaking, I raised my thumb over the dial button. Bzzz. We have a second car at JCP Elementary. It's recess. All I have to do is give the word. My throat went dry. All the air sucked out of my lungs. I couldn't breathe. Please, I typed back. Please, just leave us alone. The reply popped up. I will. If you deliver the package, this is your final task. I got up, slowly walked into the kitchen. Through the window I could see the brown box, askew on the steps, the wet, darkened stain. And please, don't drop it again. It's fragile. Shaking, I made my way back to the door. I picked up the box. Something thunked against the side as I rotated it in my hands. I swallowed and tried not to imagine what was inside. I stiffly walked to the car, put the box into the passenger seat, then I got into the driver's seat and stared out the windshield. I can't do this. But when I glanced into the rearview mirror, I saw the black car idling at the curb, watching me. As I drove, I couldn't stop glancing at the box, at the dark red seeping into the gray cloth of the passenger seat. Deep down, I think I knew what was in the box, but that didn't stop me from pulling over to the side of the road, just outside of town, and taking a peek. My hands shook as I pulled off the tape. As soon as the seal was broken, a horrible smell filled the car. Gasping, I grabbed the flap and quickly pulled it up. I immediately vomited. It was a head. The head of an adult man. I grabbed the flaps and pushed them shut. Grabbed the tape off the floor and quickly sealed the box again. Rolled the windows down to get rid of the smell. Gasped in gulps of fresh air, because in a quick flash I'd seen, the face looked familiar. It looked like the man I'd taken a photo of in the black coat. I hit the gas and sped through town until I was turning into Oak Grove, the community of McMansions built several years back. I passed brick archways and white columns, sprawling lawns of green. I frantically looked for the number 12, and then I found it. The house was grand, sitting on top of a hill. White columns stretched up to the sky, and a large window reflected the clear blue sky. I pulled up to the curb and grabbed the box. Then I burst out and ran to the front door. I could hear the thump, thump, thump of the head rattling inside with each step. A wave of nausea hit me, but I forced myself to concentrate on my steps. Almost there. Almost. As soon as my feet hit the porch, I dropped the box and got the hell out. When I was halfway down the hill, I heard the door creak open behind me. Then a pause, and then a woman's scream. I kept running, dove into the car, hit the gas and peeled down the road. When I was finally back in my house, every door locked and sealed, I sent off a final text. I delivered the box. Our transactions are over. Never contact me again. I stared at the screen, my eyes watering, and then 3 dots popped up again. You weren't supposed to open the box, Lynn. The phone slipped out of my hands, and then I began to sob. My entire body shook as I imagined what horrible things this person would ask me to do next. Knowing that I was powerless, that they knew where I lived, where my kids went to school. But it's been a month now, and I haven't heard anything. I've been watching the news, though, and last night, they broadcast something that put a dagger in my chest. The police have been working for months on the local man's murder, and while they never traced anything back to me, or the person who deposited money into my account, they finally got a break in the case. They found the murder weapon, buried in some muck in the water, next to the pier. Thank you for listening. Personally, I'd give a little head for $10,000. Welcome to the channel. I was OpportunityStrikes. I'm now rebranded as Eerie Bees. Please like, subscribe, and comment. I'm happy to get story recommendations or criticism. Kisses.